Yeah, there should be a file. I'd like to call to order the New Kent County Planning Commission regular meeting, November 27th, 2025. If we would, please stand for a moment of silence and then pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Mr. Ryder, can you please do roll call?
Ms. Townsend, Ms. Johnson, here. Mr. Moyer,
Here.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Here.
Ms. Thomas,
Here.
Mr. La Rochelle,
Here.
Dr. Schmidt,
Here.
Mr. Bennett,
Here.
Ms. Rose,
Here.
Reverend Hathaway,
Here.
Mr. Davis.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Ryder. We have a quorum. Next is approval of minutes. Do we have any corrections to last month's meeting minutes?
Mr. Chair, page 6 of 9. The very top paragraph. 20 car limit to customers, but if it was unavoidable, I think it's supposed to be if it was unavoidable. Strike he.
Strike the he.
And then on page 8 of 9, the lengthy paragraph in the middle of the page, 75-foot understorm vegetative buffer, add the R on buff, be provided around the site. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. La Rochelle. Any other corrections?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Ms. Bennett.
I move that we adopt the minutes with the changes as outlined by Mr. La Rochelle.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. We have a motion to approve the minutes with the changes Mr. La Rochelle pointed out. Mr. Ryder, could you please poll the commissioners?
Ms. Johnson? Aye. Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Aye.
Mr. La Rochelle?
Aye.
Dr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Ms. Rose?
Aye.
Reverend Hathaway?
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next, citizen comment period. And no one signed up. So moving on to any presentations from staff? Nope. All right. Unfinished business. About 1,000, Mr. Silva. New business. And now on to public hearings. We do have one public hearing scheduled tonight. Application CUP 0-03-25 Woodland Day School. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have one public hearing for consideration. It has been duly noticed and advertised. I'd like to set a few ground rules for the public hearing. The staff will first provide an overview of the hearing. We will then potentially hear from the applicant if they choose to speak, and then I will open the citizens' comment period. When I open the citizens' comment period, anyone who is signed up to speak, you will come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, You will be given 3 minutes to speak, and when the timer sounds, please conclude your remarks. I'll now open public hearing for application CUP-03-25, Woodland Day School. Mr. Silva?
Thank you very much, and good evening, members of the Planning Commission. For the official record, I'm Patrick Silva with the county's Planning Division, and the first and only public hearing item for your consideration this evening is a conditional use permit submitted by the applicant Lacey Kane, requesting approval for the proposed child care daycare center preschool nursery school use at Providence United Methodist Church, located at 4001 New Kent Highway. Pursuant to the New Kent County Code, this use does require a conditional use permit in order to operate in the R1 single-family residential zoning designation. As mentioned, the applicant is proposing to operate the preschool under the trade name Woodlands Day School. So there's a little bit of context for you in terms of where the site is located here in the county. So at the sort of adjacent to the intersection of Old Roxbury and New Kent Highway is the existing Providence United Methodist Church, shown sort of in the middle of the site there, as well as its on-site surface parking area. And then less visible in the southwestern corner of the site is an existing fenced-in outdoor play area that this preschool use would be making use of as part of their operations. So a little bit of a brief overview in terms of the proposed use. So again, the applicant is proposing to operate a preschool use at the existing church building during times that the church is largely not in use during the week. So the proposed hours of operation as submitted by the applicant would be 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Monday to Friday. And that was specifically chosen in order to minimize any conflict between the two respective uses, the preschool and the church. The applicant is proposing to provide care for no more than 60 children at any one time, with a staff of between 10 to 12 preschool employees within 4 existing classroom spaces located on the ground floor of the existing church building. Again, as previously stated, the preschool would also utilize an existing fenced-in outdoor play area located in the southwestern portion of the site in order for the children to be provided an outdoor play area while daycare operations are ongoing. In terms of sort of other important considerations, a big one to address here with respect to traffic and parking is pickup and drop-off operations. In order to minimize any impacts that may stem from those operations, the applicant has proposed a staggered approach to pickup and drop-off with a 2-hour pickup and 2-hour drop-off window occurring both at the beginning and end of the day. So from 7:30 to 9:30, and then again from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. with all of the pickup and drop-off occurring within the on-site parking lot to avoid any traffic impacts or queuing in the public right-of-way. To speak briefly to the sort of staff consideration here, staff is generally supportive of the CUP request, but I did want to take a brief moment to highlight some of the comments that we received from our interdepartmental review agencies. So for example, regarding safety considerations, the Sheriff's Office staff has asked that the applicant arrange a meeting with them in order to provide, not only their contact information, but arrange for a security assessment of the property, given the sort of sensitive nature of the use involving children. In order to address any other security concerns that the Sheriff's Office may have. So in order to ensure that is done, this was actually added as a formal condition of approval to the CUP that must be met in order for operations to commence. Regarding some environmental and building code considerations, environmental staff has communicated that any future construction, while not proposed currently, that would also include, potentially land disturbance of 2,500 square feet or more at the property would need to follow all applicable New Kent County ordinances as it relates to erosion and sediment control measures. Regarding sort of building code considerations, the county's building official did review the request and has stated that the ultimate occupant load for the use will be determined during the CO process, certificate of occupancy process, triggered by the change in use, the change to a sort of flex space for a church to a formalized daycare. In addition to the sort of occupancy load considerations, any sort of improvements necessitated by said change in use would be addressed at that stage as well. I would be remiss if I didn't address our own considerations here in planning. So, while planning staff does anticipate the overall impacts of this use to be quite low based on the proposed operations. We still have added a number of conditions of approval intended to address things like hours of operation, traffic and parking, enrollment maximums for the preschool, ensuring that ample play area and classroom space are provided, operational safety, and building code considerations, just to ensure that everything is occurring safely and without impacts to neighboring properties. So with all that in mind, staff is ultimately recommending approval of the CUP request, subject to the conditions of approval outlined in the staff report. I also did want to take a moment to note that the applicant, Ms. Kane, is here this evening in case any folks had questions for her as the applicant. But with that, I conclude the staff presentation and would welcome any questions y'all might have.
Chair. So, Mr. Silva, I don't know if this should be directed to you or the applicant, but item 6 under the overall analysis and recommended draft conditions, all loading and unloading patrons other than from school buses or public transportation will take place on site and not in the public right of way. So that implies that school buses are stopping on the main road?
So that is actually a condition that is taken straight from the site plan performance standards that are specific to this use and codified in the county code. As far as I'm aware, and the applicant may be able to confirm this as well, there are no sort of public transportation or bus element to the pickup and drop-off operations. So if there was a concern about, if that were to be added in the future, making sure that it wasn't happening on that, Old Roxbury there and God forbid, New Kent Highway, that's certainly something that the commission would have the purview to edit to ensure that too occurs on site.
Because I know the school does drop off at some daycares, right? They have bus service to and from some daycare or day schools, I'm sorry. But to make sure that that's addressed, that's my concern there.
Understood.
Mr. Chairman, following up that question, I know in the past there have been some bus stops on 249 letting children off to go to the church. We don't have anything prohibiting that, right?
As far as I'm aware, no.
I guess a clarification question. The item 4 on the CUP conditions, the preschool use is for children of non-compulsory school age only.
Right.
So all of those 60 children that will be under the care will not be school age.
Yes. So
And will not be riding a bus even part of the time to school to school.
Yep.
Public schools. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
And, Madam Chair, and following that up, what are the ages that will be at the school?
So the applicant may be able to speak to this in case things have changed, but what was communicated in the application was 2.5 up to just under 5, which would be the compulsory school age for the state of Virginia.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a question. Mr. Silver and Ms. Kane. Ms. Kane, you're not a proprietor or ownership or anything in any manner of the facility, is that correct?
No.
They can't hear you on YouTube.
No, I'm just renting the
Okay.
space from the church.
So, Mr. Silva, this CUP will be issued to the church or to Ms. Kane? How is that to be done?
Yep, so that's a great question. So to address that and ensure there's not a sort of open-ended conditional use permit approval hanging out there, the final condition that you see on the screen, condition 10 here, stipulates that the CUP would actually only be issued to the applicant or a corporation in which they own a majority stakeholder in case they wanted to operate under an LLC or something similar.
Very good. Now, the next question. If the applicant should need to relocate to a different facility, does this CUP follow her, or it has to be reissued for that new facility?
It would have to be reissued for that new facility in a new location in order to properly capture the context of whatever that property might be.
Okay.
The conditional aspect of a CUP is just that and is meant to address, the specific context of the request. So if that were to move locations, that's assuming the new location didn't already allow it by right. if the new location were to also require a CUP, it would need to be a new CUP.
The additional question I have is item number 3 of the overall analysis states that the zoning administrator will not grant a permit until the applicant demonstrates ability to meet all the state conditions and requirements of the state and local health departments for that use. Similar to what we've done in the past, should we not add a sunset condition clause to that permit would, that issuance of the permit would expire 5 years unless the operation is actually in progress there?
That's a great question. Of course, that's always at the discretion of the Planning Commission. I guess at a staff level, we felt that condition 3 would adequately allow staff to confirm that all pertinent requirements were being met. If the commission were to feel more comfortable with the sunset clause that has been used for other CUPs, that's certainly something that could be added as a condition.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair. Mr. Silver, the conditions of the CUP, and no applies to the parcel itself. Does it also, the highlighted area on figure 2 floor plan, the 4 classrooms that are identified, is the CUP, or is the applicant only allowed to use those 4?
So no. So the CUP conditions would not confine specifically the applicant to using those 4 areas. That is ultimately a matter between the applicant and the church in terms of, whether enrollment and volume increased and they needed more space for whatever reason, then that would give the applicant the flexibility to perhaps lease additional space. But in terms of what was being requested right now, that was simply the area that the applicant had indicated they would be using.
And the proposed occupant load of 60 cannot be exceeded.
No, yes, exactly. So that's they're kind of separate and distinct figures. The 60 is the CUP cap. Ultimately, if the occupancy load were to be determined to be less than that, then that would be the sort of the number that would reign supreme in terms of how many children could be cared for. But that 60, again, gives the applicant the flexibility. If they needed the additional space in order to accommodate that volume, it would allow them to do that.
Right, and that have to be at the express approval of the building official, too, to locate elsewhere within the building.
That's correct.
For a change of use for that space.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
For the traffic pattern that's illustrated on here, it shows traffic coming in, I presume going around that circle for drop-off, and then how do they exit? Are they going back out on 249, or are they going out on Old Roxbury Road, or is that defined? Like, would it be good to have a one-way traffic pattern through the parking lot?
I'm not sure if you had thought about how to approach it at this point.
Sure. So they'd go back out on 249. So there's a little, it's hard to explain on this picture. So when you come in, there's a 2-lane road. And then there's also like a cemetery on the side, and there's a path that you can go around there too. But it all goes out to 249.
Mr. Silva, one other quick question.
Yep.
I know under the Department of Public Utilities, they talked about the non-transient, non-community water system and those requirements. Is the church currently already classified as that?
That's
and
correct.
Has a permit already?
That's
So
correct.
there won't need to be any change in status?
That's what was
okay.
indicated to us
Okay.
by our DPU reviewers. Yep.
Okay, good.
Madam Chair, I do have another question. The hours of operation, 7:30 to 5:30. All my kids went to daycare, and sometimes parents don't get there on time. What do you do?
Well, charge a really steep late fee,
Sure.
to be honest.
Sure.
I speak to that every day. Every child care facility in the county does that. So I think that you're right on the track with how that.
Yeah,
should
I
be.
pay.
It's like
We pay.
you're there or you're not there.
We pay $10 a minute right now, and we were 10 minutes late last week. So, yeah. And also, The church has some other, they have like Cub Scouts or something at 6 p.m. So that's why I say 5:30. Our closing time would be 5 o'clock, but I'm saying 5:30 to give like an extra buffer for, I don't know, a parent has an accident and is late. And the same with the morning. So really it's 8 o'clock, but I'm saying 7:30 so that, you know, we have a little bit of buffer of like people who like to arrive early or people who like to sit and leave a little late.
Madam Chair, I have just one question. This is probably more for Patrick, but I noticed that the fire department made no comment. I'm assuming that there is already an evacuation plan in place for that facility. And I just, God forbid something happens, you want to make sure that that's followed. And I know that the fire chief is pretty good at taking care of those facilities and just making sure that there is a plan in place for that facility if there is anything in the future.
That's correct. That's a building and fire code consideration that would have been required at the time of construction of the original building.
Exactly.
And then, you know, at the time of, again, that the certificate of occupancy reissuance based on the change in use, that's potentially something that would be reevaluated if there were, you know, based on that change in use, there were any changes needed to that plan. Right. Would be something that would be evaluated.
Perfect. And I can certainly speak to that. Yeah, the fire code does dictate based on use group, and again, it's all based on number of occupants and ages and numbers of children watched. So.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Patrick, this is just for my own learning purposes. Why is the property R1 single-family residential when it's a church?
That is a darn good question, and may necessitate more historical background than I had previously done, to be honest. I will say, generally speaking, surprisingly or not so surprisingly, based on who they service, churches are largely uses that can be easier to build in residential districts than like a more commercial type use. So that's not too atypical, but the background of how long this parcel's been zoned that way or why it may have changed, I might need to do a little bit more research on.
If it was zoned differently, like what most churches are, would Ms. Kane have had to do a conditional use permit for this property? Because I thought
it's definitely possible. You know, depending on the zoning designation, if it were to have been a church that, for whatever reason, was located in business or EO district, those are zoning designations, for example, that allow the daycare by right. And wouldn't have needed to come forward for a CUP. So it really depends what the alternate context would have been, but it's certainly possible. Mm-hmm.
A question. Now, if the church was doing this daycare, they would not have to come through this process.
You've asked a very interesting question. And yes, that is the case, actually. Based on the weirdness of just the nature of the regulations, if it were to be operated by the church, it would be considered accessory to the church use, and it would actually be permitted by right. It's the fact that it is being operated by a third party that triggers the need for the CUP.
Unlike most areas in the county, this surrounding area is R1.
Right.
It's not just, you know, this one spot.
Right.
And with that R1, I heard a church can be placed in any zoning. That's correct. Okay, yeah. So it can be, you know, R1 or industrial church can be put in. So that's not a limiting factor of what it is. So, and if it, yeah,
It's been there.
yeah, yeah, no matter where that church wants to be, if there's an adequate room, it meets all the site plan, a church can be there. So.
All right. And any other questions? If not, we'll open the public comment portion. See whether there's. I don't believe there's anybody that signed up. Okay, let the record show that no one is signed up for the public comment portion. So I am going to close the public hearing and turn it back to Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Thank you, Ms. Silva, Ms. King. Any further discussion amongst the commissioners? And if not, I will entertain a motion.
I'll gladly make it. Mr. Chairman, in order to address, protect, and promote public convenience, necessity, general welfare, and good zoning practices in the county, I move to adopt resolution number PC 21-25 to forward application CUP 0325 to the New Kent County Board of Supervisors with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Reverend Hathaway. Have a motion to approve application CUP-0325, Woodland Day School. Mr. Ryder, could you please poll the commissioners?
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Moyer,
Abstain.
Mr. Dombrowski,
Aye.
Ms. Thomas,
Aye.
Mr. LaRochelle,
Aye.
Dr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
Ms. Rose,
Aye.
Reverend Hathaway,
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye. Motion carries with a favorable recommendation to the board. Thank you, Ms. King. Now on Chairman's report. Not a report per se, but I will say December we normally have our annual holiday pre-meeting gathering, usually at 5:30. Unless we have significant opposal to that, we'll plan on that again. And if you have bring a dish to share, and certainly for planning commissioners and planning staff as well. Planning staff, you don't have to bring anything. We'll supply food for you. So again, that typically starts an hour before the meeting, so at 5:30. Commissioners, if you want to join us, and planning staff, if you want to join us, we're glad to have you. So, and with that, next we move on to Plan RVA report. Reverend Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I emailed a lot of information from the Planning Commission today, so I won't go through all of that. But a couple of things. The Chamber RVA Regional Action Summit was October the 30th. Mr. Maury and I were there. It was a phenomenal session. They talked about affordable housing, workforce development, and economic development. And I guess there were about 250 in attendance there. So that was really good. The Plan RVA meeting was on Thursday, November the 13th. Plan RVA received a clean audit, thank goodness. The SEDS report, I had some questions about that, so I submitted that. That's in the report that I sent out today. CVWMA presentation. There was a resolution to approve the solid waste management plan. And I think everybody voted with the exception of two people from Chesterfield, and they voted against it because they had some negative impact from the wastelands. But the board did approve it almost unanimously. The last thing that I have is we approved the executive director's succession plan, and basically the change in that plan really evolved around when the executive director is away from position for a short period of time, who will fill that position, and in the event she does not show up at all, and there's no contact, then there's a process whereby staff then reports to the chairman of the executive committee, and then actions are taken from there. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Reverend. And with that information you sent, can we have that entered into the record, or a link of Reverend Hathaway's email, the reports?
In terms of circulating to the rest of the Planning Commission, or just made it part of the case record?
Make it part of the record.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
All right, thank you. Now on to commissioner reports. Mr. LaRochelle.
No, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas.
No, sir.
Ms. Johnson.
Not at this time.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Not at this time.
Reverend.
Yes, the New Kent Housing Affordability Committee met, and we're going to have a presentation to the board at their November work session. We encourage people to come to that. Two things that I know will be a part of that is the consideration of a New Kent Affordable Housing Trust. And that's what most localities are doing to address affordable housing. And the second part is hiring a New Kent Housing Affordability Coordinator. And so they are two of the proposals that will come before the board.
What date is the work session?
29th? 24th. Okay.
Thank you, Raymond. Dr. Schmidt?
Nothing.
Mr. Bennett?
No, sir, I do not.
Ms. Rose?
Nothing at this time. One quick question. Is there any update on the zoning ordinance rewrite RFP?
Yeah, so I think when we had provided an update last month, we had mentioned that we had received 4 submissions and we're doing a number of interviews. Those interviews have now been completed, and hopefully we will have a formal selection in the not so distant future.
Mr. Morio?
Yes. A number of things. One, I think it, kind of my responsibility to come back and report what we've talked about in Planning Commission, and then what we did at the board. If we remember, the sign CUP was brought to the board. This body did a 5-4 vote to deny it, and because it's 5-4, we do pay attention to that, and so we put a twist in what was eventually passed by the board, and that was the owners of Bottoms Ridge Tire need to change the sign and come back to its non-conformed size, which was legal, but we're giving them 18 months to do it. But what we did not do with that is set a precedent that we're going to be having problems with other people with signs. We did not give a blanket, yes, this is okay. So, as we know, there's a large area of I think I've heard the total is we have 42 miles of overlay district. And so there's no way we want to be able to have signs that are not conforming throughout the whole county. So that's how that went. The event, small event menu on Hopewell was passed. It appeared that they worked everything out with the church because there was nobody here from the church to talk for or against it. And the kennel that we had approved to go to the Board of Supervisors, that was also voted approval by the Board of Supervisors, and the people that spoke here were not there. So that must have been worked out too. A couple other things. One, what's just been put out is Virginia Zoning Atlas. I don't know if you guys are aware of this yet. What has been done is a research group has looked at all the zoning documents from all but 38 locations in Virginia and put it in a map. And so you can see where everything is zoned in New Kent and throughout Virginia. How do other people zone their counties and that? We can look at we can look at Powhatan, look at Goochland, and look at ours and see how it's zoned. So in our zoning, they looked at all 271 pages of our zoning documents. And what is suggested is that as things change, as we rewrite, if we like what they're doing with this atlas, we get back to them with the changes, that we have. At the same time, Plan RVA is, received the grant on market value assessment for the jurisdictions that Plan RVA cover, the 9 jurisdictions, and we are, of course, one of those. And that is one step further to the final document on that. And we've had some input on that because these market value assessment group does not know our county like we know our county. And so that gives kind of a block area of what the type housing costs are in different areas. From an A+, which is, and maybe it shouldn't be termed this way, but an A+ is $1 million and up. B would be, or A would be less than $1 million. And then there's groups that are in the 600, 500 that show that the value is that, but they have a high percentage of rentals. Or down at 300 where there might not be any sales, but there's a high percentage of rentals. So it's actually a very interesting way of looking at it. And what we're going to try to do is try to see if we can get those two things I just mentioned to get it overlaid, to see if we're actually doing what we should be doing in zoning, and also if that's what the value of the home should be in those areas. And it's going to give us some areas in the county that, maybe we can do some different things, in the future. Also, if you don't mind, we had the grand opening, quote unquote, grand opening for AutoZone last week. It was a unique thing about this grand opening was the governor in the state of Virginia, of course, only has one term. And he was able to be at the groundbreaking, and he was able to be at the grand opening. Hardly ever happens because the project just happened to be at the right time. But it was interesting to see him be able to see that, what has developed from it. And right now they have 400 employees there. And the CEO from AutoZone was there. He said, there'll probably be another 400 here too. So this little thing that was 250 to 300 employees has grown a little bit. And that's with no extra building. That 850,000 square feet building will remain that same, area. So that's a very positive thing for the county. And in looking at that, looking at those maps that I talked about, the one thing that's been brought to my attention is that those aren't necessarily things for us citizens of the counties to look at, our county look at. It's what other people look at when they look to New Kent, see if they want to live or if they want to have a business here. That's what they pay attention to. So it's good information, and it goes along with what Reverend Hathaway has about, there's not just transportation and housing. There's all kinds of other things that Plan RVA deals with, and those are very good things that you put in there. I just glanced at them, okay? I'll read them, okay? Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Moria. Staff reports?
Nothing too much from us. I already addressed the sort of ordinance update efforts, so stay tuned. We should have more for you, fingers crossed, next month. In terms of insight into next month's public hearings, there will be 3 items on the docket. There will be a CUP for a telecom tower. There will be a private roadway exception for a family subdivision request. And then the annual CIP presentation will come in December as well. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. All right, and next meeting schedule, we'll have our next meeting December 15th, 6:30 here in the boardroom. And if you choose to come to our pre-meeting gathering, please come 5:30 or after.
Bring something yummy.
Bring something yummy, yes. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Moria. We are adjourned.